Did you know 1 in 3 women in the United States have experienced domestic violence? Find out what's being done on the Treasure Coast here to help those families struggling with domestic violence next on Inside St. Lucie. Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside St. Lucie, SLC TV's monthly government affairs show. I'm your host, Eric Gill, Communications Director for St. Lucie County, and on today's show we're going to talk with St. Lucie County Commission Vice Chair Franny Hutchinson and Dr. Teresa Albizu, CEO of Safe Space, who will tell us about some resources available here for families struggling with domestic violence. But before we meet our guests, here's some upcoming events and announcements from the Board of County Commissioners. The Indian River Lagoon Science Festival is set to return on Saturday, October 22nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Park, 600 North Indian River Drive in downtown Fort Pierce. This free event is designed for the whole family with dozens of hands-on activities exploring the wonders of science, technology, engineering, art, and math. For more information, visit irlsciencefest.org. Now for the latest updates about all St. Lucie County Commission meetings, workshops, and events, be sure to visit our website at stlucieco.gov and click on our comprehensive calendar. And if you'd like to be added to our press release distribution list, send me an email at pio@stlucieco.org. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, so we hope you'll follow us at St. Lucie Gov. We're going to take a quick break. Before we do, we're going to check in with the latest economic development stats with another St. Lucie Works. St. Lucie County's tourism revenue once again experienced another increase. Bed tax collections for July were 1.4% higher than July of 2021. Year to date, the tourist development tax collections are up 37.5% over 2021, and they are up 50% over 2019. Overall building activity in unincorporated St. Lucie County dropped slightly in July with 1,110 permits submitted compared to June's 1,371 permits. Valuations and revenue were above normal for that same time frame. According to the Florida Realtors Association, the median home sale price in St. Lucie County in July was $396,950, up 36% from last year, while condo values rose by 20% with the median price at $264,950. St. Lucie County's unemployment rate remained steady in July at 3.4%, the same as June. Statewide, the unemployment rate increased to 3%. The largest increases in the labor force on the Treasure Coast were in leisure and hospitality with 1,900 new jobs, followed by professional business services with 1,600 new jobs, and education and health services with 1,400 new jobs. If you work for a local business looking for skilled or trained labor, be sure to contact the staff at Career Sources. They can assist your company with recruitment and training needs. And if you're an individual looking for a job, they can help you as well. Visit the Career Source online at careersourcerc.com or call 1-866-4U2-HIRE. Welcome back to Inside St. Lucie. I'm your host, Eric Gill, and I'm joined by St. Lucie County Commission Vice Chair Franny Hutchinson. Commissioner, thanks for coming on. And Dr. Teresa Albizu,
Yes.
Sorry, I knew I was going to mess it up. That's why I figured I'd let you do it. With Safe Space here on the Treasure Coast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, I've heard of Safe Space. You guys have been around for a number of years, and I always remember this time of year, coming up October, we've got a Walk in Her Shoes.
A Walk Among Her Shoes event, yes.
We always get our commissioners to wear the red pumps.
That's right, exactly.
Yes. Right?
Right. So it's a wonderful way to commemorate National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And what we do is that we ask gentlemen to join us and walk in the red stilettos to symbolize the difficulty that victims of domestic violence, whether female or male, have in walking that journey of domestic abuse.
So you got to walk a full mile on this thing?
No, we do not. Okay, it's a symbolic walk.
It's symbolic. Good.
Yes, yes.
Because I watch our commissioners struggle just around the chambers.
I know they're grabbing things and holding on, right. Or they just prop them up on the
they usually just pose for them.
Yeah. Right.
And you guys have size 12s, right? 11?
Yes, of course we do. We're all prepared to fit all kinds of sizes. Absolutely. We'll hope you join us.
Yeah. And it's not just men either. It's women can walk.
So
it also.
Women can come.
Yes.
We invite families to come along. Many times people even bring their pets and they put red booties on their paws. So it's kind of very fun. Yeah. And it's a nice, fun way, right, to recognize a very serious problem that sometimes is difficult to talk about. And domestic violence has historically been a taboo subject that people have some difficulty and hesitation in broaching. And so this is a good way to come out and say we need to be together, stand up against domestic violence, and do what we need to do to help the victims and survivors of this abuse.
Yeah, we'll talk about the event a little later too, but let's go back. How long has Safe Space been around, and talk about the different services you provide here?
Oh, absolutely. So Safe Space was founded in Indian River County in 1972. So over 43 years ago now. Yeah, and within 10 years of having been established, it expanded its services to San Lucie and Martin counties. So today we are the only state-certified domestic violence center on the Tri-County area, serving Indian River, San Lucie, and Martin. We have emergency shelters in Martin and Indian River, and we have outreach offices in all 3 counties, and we're very happy to have an outreach office here in San Lucie County, where we have advocates that work on a full-time basis with victims and survivors of domestic violence in a private, confidential, and safe environment. And we also have attorneys full-time working for Safe Space, helping our participants with injunctions for protections, restriction orders, restraining orders, all that good stuff, and also referring them out to other legal services as they may need, right, regarding custody or divorce proceedings or anything else that they may need. So,
and I noticed some of the materials you had given me ahead of time. St. Lucie County, you serve the Treasure Coast, and we have the largest population, so it makes sense that we're probably one of the biggest users of
that is correct.
Services.
So San Lucie County residents represent 56% of all the participants that we serve. This last year we served over 430 individuals, about 385 adults, and the rest are children. And so we're very, very committed to this work. We're a single source provider of this service, and so we understand the importance of ensuring that our agency remains thriving into the future and very viable and reachable by those who need us in these very serious moments of despair sometimes. Yeah.
May I ask a question? Yeah, sure. You just gave out, some statistics for St. Lucie County,
yes.
But over the course of coming through COVID, and you and I spoke about this in my office, coming through COVID, those numbers ended up climbing.
Yes.
Are you seeing that going down? Or are you seeing, because we talked about there might be another wave?
No, so unfortunately the numbers continue to increase and climb. This is very common in situations of natural disasters, even for incidents of domestic violence to increase. I think that what has made it very different with the COVID pandemic, not to say that domestic violence was not a pandemic way before the COVID outbreak, right? We recognize that this is a very prevalent problem. But we have seen increases, and those increases are due to many of the factors that have impinged upon the community based on the restrictions of COVID and the stressors that situation brings, which increases then violent behaviors at home.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I imagine more people working from home, being at home on top of it, maybe losing their job.
That's correct.
The stress, all the different stresses, and then they build up over time is one of the things we've talked about.
And including the fact that, unfortunately, use of substances, including increased use of alcohol, has also impacted the incidence of domestic abuse. And having the children at home full time, not being able to go to school, was also a precursor to all these increases in domestic violence. So, and we need to protect the children, right? Because we know domestic violence is a learned behavior. So the only way to break this cycle is to make sure that the children have the proper education about what healthy relationships are, which is another program that we offer through Safe Space. Is our youth outreach violence prevention programs, where we come into the middle schools and work with the children and letting them know that there's another way to hold relationships, that healthy relationships are characterized by love, respect, consideration, empathy, patience, understanding, all those good things. How to identify some of the red flags of domestic abuse or power and control, because children are dating very early in life these days, and so it's important that they recognize those red flags, as well as how to access resources.
That's great. Starting early,
Yes.
Now, where do you guys get most of your funding from as a nonprofit?
Yes, so 50% of our funding comes from the Department of Justice Victims of Crime Act grant, and the Department of Children and Families of the state of Florida. The other 50%, which is close to $2 million, we must raise every single year. And this is how then we have to go out into the community and rely on the support of a philanthropic community, donors, businesses, corporations, foundations, family foundations, and local government, because we're very, very proud that the San Luis Board of County Commissioners has supported Safe Space in the past, and we sincerely appreciate that support because it makes a significant difference.
Yeah, Commissioner, I know that's always a tough position. You guys get put in. You know, we have this grant cycle. We have excess funds we give out to nonprofits, and there's so many,
worthy.
Sure.
Worthy by all means, but eventually you have to start whittling down and looking, make sure you're safeguarding the taxpayers from the commissioner's standpoint, the taxpayers' dollars, and along with where do we get for the biggest buck, biggest bang for our buck on it. And I have to say, with Safe Space, we do get a lot out of it.
Well,
as a community as a whole, when you're looking there at protecting lives and changing character behaviors and so forth. And again, and I'm going to emphasize this, because again, we've talked about this, it's not, most people look as domestic abuse upon women, but there's a very strong one on children. And as you touched on, when our children were at home from school, your teachers are usually your eyes and your ears, and they have obligations that they have to report and be investigated or not, and can see when those children aren't in those classrooms, they don't have that extra eye. And then again, but there's also a huge abuse of men, which you and I both went very deep into conversation over, and that seems to be a growing number.
It is.
So, and you wouldn't realize that, but it's true. So it's again, I think it's one of those, nobody wants to talk about that part.
Correct.
Correct. So, but it is there.
It's a difficult subject sometimes to talk about, but we must, because silence breeds violence, right? If we continue to just stand by and watch and not do something about it, we will continue to have a very pervasive, serious issue in our community. And talking about the taxpayers, right? So Safe Space makes a very huge contribution as well to the economic development of the county, because remember that domestic violence has a very significant cost to all the counties. In San Luis County alone, it's estimated at over $34 million per year, because the cost of law enforcement, medical care that is being accessed by these individuals, mental health care services, loss of productivity and absenteeism in the workplace, all impact.
And our court systems, all of it, you name it. It's
a pervasive and very big impact. Domestic violence is not about the one person or even the one family. It's really about our community and the safety and well-being of our community, and especially our children.
What do you think, you may have touched on a little bit with, men can be victims of domestic violence, but what are some of the biggest misconceptions about domestic violence in the home? Because I don't think it doesn't have to be physical violence, right?
Correct.
It can be verbal and mental.
Right, so domestic violence goes beyond physical abuse, which is typically the most, I think, most observable, right? The physical bruises or damage to someone's body. No, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, spiritual abuse, stalking, cyber stalking.
Isolation.
There are many ways that aggressors actually impinge a lot of damage upon an individual. And I think that we should be very clear that domestic violence is very characterized by a very strong power and control over someone else's behavior and well-being. And these aggressors are sometimes, unfortunately, quite savvy on how to exert this kind of power and control, and it creates a sense of reality for the victim that is even hard sometimes to break. We begin thinking, right, well, what did I do to deserve this abuse? What else can I do to prevent it? Well, it's never the victim's fault. It is the aggressor's responsibility. And I think that is something that we need to be very clear about. The other misconception is that domestic violence does not happen just in lower income communities. It happens across all levels of socioeconomic standing, professional achievement, educational attainment, race, gender, ethnicity, religiosity, lifestyle choice. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate, unfortunately. So when you look around, and we know that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the United States are exposed to an incident of domestic violence in their lifetime, that is a very high significant number. When you are surrounded by groups of people and you look around, you kind of like thinking in the back of my head, about a third of these people here have probably been exposed to some sort of incident, right? And that is why we need to be alert and do something about it.
And,
No, go ahead.
and if folks are watching us at home and they're in a situation, obviously they may be scared to reach out,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what do you tell those people?
So we tell them to please reach out to us. Please call us at our hotline at 772-288-7023. We want to hear from you. We know that you are not invisible. You're a real person. We believe your story, and we want to help you and provide you with all the resources that you need in order to transition to an independent life free of violence.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have a website too for people to go.
We
that
do.
I'm afraid to talk to somebody, but if I can, look it up on my phone, maybe.
Right, that would
Yeah.
be www.safespacefl.org.
All right, and then the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes is October 22nd.
October
Where
22nd
at
at the
this
Fort
year?
Pierce Marina Square,
Okay.
very close to the Fort Pierce Farmers Market.
Yes.
And registration opens at 8 a.m. and the walk starts promptly at 10 a.m. And we hope that you will all join us and support us in this one general public event that we hold every year, and we're celebrating our 11th anniversary of our walks here in San Lucie County.
So, and is there a registration fee? Is that a fundraiser?
There
too?
is,
Awesome.
it is a fundraiser, and there's a registration fee. All the information is on the website.
Perfect. All right, Dr. Anything else you want to mention about Safe Space? Or?
We want to say that we are very grateful to be here with you today. We want
Thank
to
you.
increase the awareness of safe space in the community. We are very committed to helping those that need our services and who deserve a very healthy and happy life in the future. And certainly very grateful to the Broward County Commissioners for all the support and the out loud thinking, because when we come to meet with the commissioners, they have been very gracious in sharing suggestions and recommendations as we continue to expand our services here in the county.
Could I just take you back just a moment, because I
Yes.
know we're trying to wrap up. Can you give a little bit more detail in regards to the services? You kind of went down, but I also know, and correct me if I'm wrong if it's changed, but you also help women that you shelter, give them immediate shelter
That
for
is
safety.
correct.
But then you can also work with them to maybe get them independent, whether it's a job and all of that. Because I know I've given clothes over to the safe
Yes.
space for, working clothes for women to use, who
Right.
may have walked out of their door with nothing but their bag and
That
their
is-
child's
that is
arm.
true.
Kind of thing. So there's a lot of ways of donating and
Yes.
helping out safe space
Yes.
versus just the
Writing a
money
check or
side.
walking,
Right.
sure.
I mean, anything that you would think I would want for my child or myself if I had to walk out the door with
That's
nothing
right.
in my
Even
hands.
solid luggage, I've heard, is a great,
That
is
right?
correct.
Like
Right.
suitcases, because like you
Yes.
said, you just grab whatever you could to get out of the
Yes.
house.
And those are in emergency situations,
Sure.
so it's not all of them,
Correct.
but that you do
Right.
offer that also if there's a need
That is
for
correct.
that.
So besides the emergency shelter, and thank you for clarifying that, Commissioner, because a lot of people, when they think of safe space, think immediately emergency shelter. But we
Right.
are so much more than that. We help individuals with their legal services and injunction for protection. We have an extremely expert money coach that helps individuals restore their credit, be able to develop a budget, see what are the resources that they need to move forward in life. 99% of domestic violence victims are also financially abused. So that's a big one. We have a child welfare protection program where we work along with the Department of Children and Families to ensure that children remain with a non-aggressor parent and are not unnecessarily placed in foster care. And that is a very important and beautiful program that we offer. But we offer them with gainful employment opportunities, educational opportunities, access to health care, child care. So whatever it is, transportation, right? Food, gift cards, clothing, everything that you mentioned, Commissioner. Whatever it is that they need in order to restore a sense of well-being and happiness and moving forward in life is what we do with our participants.
And just wanted to point that out because I think that's so extremely important that it's not just that emergency and we're out the door and you're on your own. It's a full circle of everything that anyone who's gone through domestic violence can benefit from.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate all the hard work, and I imagine
you.
it is, like you said, it's a sensitive topic and it's tough to talk about, but it certainly needs to be brought to light.
Yes, it does.
And we appreciate the opportunity you've given us today. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show with Commissioner Franny Hutchinson. Welcome back to Inside St. Lucie, and I'm here with Vice Chair Franny Hutchinson for what could be your last show on Inside St. Lucie.
That's correct. As a sitting,
I mean, we could have
as a
you never
sitting,
know. As a sitting commissioner.
As a sitting commissioner.
Yes. Well, and I know you don't want to spend too much of the show talking about you,
No.
but I do because, you know, we've worked together now. I've been here 19 years, pretty much the whole time you've been
Yeah.
county commissioner.
Yes.
And it's been a pleasure for me.
As it has been for me. I've kind of going down memory lane lately.
I'm sure, and we got a few more
And
months
it's-
of it.
yes,
And you
yes, we
still
do. It's
feel-
not over today.
You're still like till the reorg in November.
Till the reorg,
Yeah.
November 22nd.
So, over the past years, what are some of the things you think you're most proud of that you've served here on?
Wow.
4 terms as county
It depends on what you're asking for. If you're asking for projects, if you're asking for
bit
what
of
we've
both.
done. You know, first and foremost, I'm really proud of the team working together. And when I say that, I say it all the way from the position as county commissioner to your administration, all the different departments, and even down to our janitorial staff, you know, that keeps the place clean, and especially during COVID and so forth. It has always been a team effort, and everybody worked together. And I think that's the most thing that I'm the most proud of, and also that it hasn't changed. You know, there's not that split. It's like we're all in this together and we're all working together. And I don't think you find that in many counties. You know, when I go to the conferences and all that stuff, you don't hear a lot of that talk.
I think over the years, you know, obviously you got 5 different commissioners. They're never all going to agree all the time.
Right.
But I think that for the most part, they've always kind of realized that we put politics aside and do what's best for the residents.
It is, and it's really funny you bring that subject up. I think the boards, whether the present board and past boards I've been able to be blessed to serve on, you know, we've treated each other with respect. We've treated the public with respect when they're there at the meetings. And even if there's a difference of opinion, it's still done with respect to the other person's view. And once the meeting is over with, it's done. You know, it doesn't transfer over into the rest of the stuff. And so, I mean, that's a monumental
Yeah.
to have that going on.
And I think back,
and it serves the residents good.
yeah,
So
and I
it's a
think
good
back
working
over
team.
the years, you know, you've dealt with a global pandemic, multiple hurricanes. In fact, you even got to meet as a president at our
Yes,
emergency
President
operations center.
Bush was here.
And his brother,
And his
when he was
brother,
governor,
Jeb,
right?
Yes. Yes.
Within what, 3
Yeah.
weeks of each other when we had Francis and Jean?
Jean back to back.
Yeah.
There's some funny things that we'd gotten the notice that the president would be coming in, and I'm sure you know these stories because were you out there?
I was in tourism at the time, so I
Okay.
didn't have to go out to the EOC.
But
Lynette had
I was
to.
going to say, I think, yeah, it was Lynette that was there. And the stories that we could all tell, you know, when you're huddled into a very small, because it was the old EOC, it's not the one we have now, and it was a very small constrained room. And we got the phone calls, you know, to be out there by a certain time because of security, obviously, with the president and stuff. And, you know, we hadn't had water and lights and power and all that kind of stuff for a couple of days. So none of us smelled real good at that point. None of us had clean clothes at that point. So you came as you were. And I can remember, I think Paula Lewis was running late, so she wasn't able to make it through the security
Security check.
part. And it was Cliff and Doug Coward, and it wasn't John.
Yeah, I don't think John was in that picture. But Anderson, the county
Anderson, the
administrator.
county, that was the other one.
Yeah.
And myself, and you know, I'm going to giggle a little bit about my former commissioner that I served with, Cliff Barnes, and if he watches this, he's probably going to kill me for it, because he kept telling me, I want over by the president. And I'm going, but you're Democrat. And at that time, I was the only Republican commissioner sitting right there. And he's going, but I don't care, I want by the president. And I'm like, okay, now I know where I stand. You may not be such a true Democrat after all. But I think having him there was especially reassuring. And then I remember right after they left there, we found out that they were out here at Lawnwood Stadium handing out bags of ice with the FEMA
Yeah.
people and so forth and
Yeah.
everything. So that was one of those, you didn't have much time, but it was like, we need this, this, and this, and that's what you concentrated on.
Yeah, and over the
So-
years, you've been a champion you've been the erosion district chair, and have really been the county's voice in Tallahassee and Washington, making sure we get those federal funds to keep that
Yeah.
sand on the beach.
Those have been good moments. We've actually got the South Hutchinson Island. That was 20 years in the making of getting there, so I was glad to see that one finally
sand
signed, sealed, and
bypass
delivered.
trap, which was another 20 years in the
20 years
making.
on it, and we just went for the extension on the 50-year life of our work with the Army Corps and cost sharing. We were able to get a 6 or 7 year extension just this year, and so that'll give us a little bit more time to get there to get that full 50.
Yeah.
So
And
those
you've
have been
also-
huge, because if we were to lose our beaches and the funding partners that come to the table, that cost is huge.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know people say, well, why do we have to keep putting all that money out there? It washes right out. Well, think what would happen to all our infrastructure. It's not just the houses on the island that you're protecting. It's the infrastructure, your roads, your cable, all of
The
those
util- the
lines, the
nuclear power
utilities,
plant on it,
you
yeah.
know, it would be catastrophic to this county to lose our beaches.
Absolutely. And you've been a big proponent of 4-H over the years. You've had grandkids go through.
Yes,
You've
my own kids, my grandkids
Kids,
have going
yeah.
through it. 4-H has always been very near and dear to my heart, but anything that involves the youth in this community.
Yeah.
And I see it as a way of, you see a lot of these children that have gone through it, and I've watched graduate high school and go on into, actually this past year fair, I was actually able to see some of them who now have kids of their own, which really made me feel old.
Yeah.
But that being said, but it's a cool thing to watch. They are already going into positions of, leadership and stuff within their own businesses that they've worked, have joined and stuff as far as employment goes.
Yeah.
So it's a good base for a lot of our
Absolutely.
kids to go through.
What opportunity do you think you wish you could redo over the years? Is there something? Because I remember asking that of County Administrator Doug Anderson when he
Yeah.
retired, and he said, "I wish we would have bought the port." And of course, you got
We
to
did,
help accomplish that. 12 years later
Yeah.
after Anderson left. But is there anything?
It's not a project.
Okay.
I think, in looking back, one of my things was government works so slow. And I really wanted to focus on how to get it to work faster and get the projects done and get things in. I didn't have a clear understanding, being fresh back in 1998, of all the intricate parts that come to being a county commissioner. But I learned very quickly. And that's the one thing I can say we've gotten better, but we still have a very long way to go.
Yeah.
A lot of our, and I'll tell you why.
And I was
it's
gonna say, some of
important.
it's not our fault, not to
No, it's
point
not.
blank,
No,
you
it's
know.
not. It's and that's what I had to
Permitting
learn.
and, yeah.
It's permitting, and it's the different agencies, and both from the federal and state level, and then your cities and your counties working together and everything. But part of it that drives me nuts about it is the fact that you can plan a project and be working and going through all the design, which has to be done.
Sure.
Acknowledged. But it drives the cost up. The longer, a road can't happen overnight. It's usually like our beach projects,
Yeah.
they were 20 years in the making. Had we been able to get these done faster, they
would've
would
been
not have
cheaper,
been
sure.
as costly as they are now. And that's, to me, has become the frustrating part of not getting something accomplished.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a much bigger picture than a county commissioner has the ability to change.
But-
So that was a rude awakening.
Yeah, and I think you've said before to me, one of the things the county commissioner needs to do is you need to learn to count to 3, right?
Yes, you do.
Because
Yes,
one of the
you
things, and we'll hear it. It's
You're going to
election
tell
time.
my story.
I love that story because it's true. You watch the elections, and I'm not picking on any individual. I did this, I did that. Well,
No,
you had to
no.
have 2 other votes, right?
That goes back to my beginning statement on, the proudest thing is the teamwork.
Yeah.
And when you say that about it, I have to laugh about it because I can remember one time Doug Anderson was when he was county administrator, was going nuts over
Which he
something.
typically did.
Yeah, he did. He was very excitable about anything and everything, but he was good. And when I was leaving office at that point, and that was in 2006, I went down to him and I had printed out the saying about count to 3. And I think that's all it said. And And I gave it to him, you know, and I said, you need to understand this, Doug. I don't care how smart you are or how much knowledge you have. As a county administrator, your first and foremost job is to count to 3. And if you don't have 3 votes of support, you're never going to get it through. And it was the same for a county commissioner. You know, we have to have at least 2 others
Sure.
to support. You want the majority.
Yeah.
You're not always going to get it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you'll never get a project through or get something if you're not going to have the majority vote on it. So, you know, that's where, like I said, it goes back to that teamwork.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we're seeing too, you talk about the government and response. I think the mulch fire that's burning right now is a great example of, you know, a lot of people are ready
Pointing fingers.
the city, the county, you know, and it's a weird situation because it's a private business that's regulated by DEP, so it's not even permitted at the local level.
Right.
It's in city limits, and you guys have gotten emails about fire district budget with the board. In this county, the fire district's an independent
Separate.
taxing district, and some of you all serve on it, so it's tough sometimes. You know, not to make my job sound hard, but it is tough to educate people that move in from other areas, and they're used. This is how it's done in Jersey or New York or wherever they came from. You know?
Exactly, and again, that goes back to that teamwork. Everybody listened, whether you're calling a county commissioner or a city commissioner, the fire district, everybody was hearing those concerns, and we were much aware of them. So even though you may not have seen something that day, but a press release, there was a lot of work being done to try to find a solution to it. And that's the part of people don't realize, and I understand that.
Sure.
You know, that's not their job, it's mine to make sure that that keeps on the priority list of getting something done. And then yesterday, they've come up with and devised, again, working as a team, because it took everybody at the table, a new strategy, and hopefully that's going to work. And we'll see within the week. That's what we've been told.
Well, Commissioner, what are you going to do with your retirement?
Well, number one, we're going to correct the record. I don't retire. I'm just moving in a different direction. And it's when I'm going to take some time and give myself the ability to think through what I'd like to do and not do. And I will definitely still be involved in the community in some way, shape, or form.
We have advisory committees you can serve on.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't appoint you, but
I think I'm restricted on some of those. You have to sit out for
That's
so
true.
long. But that just being on the county part, there's plenty of nonprofits, like we've talked to one today, you know, that I've done in the past. And
Fair Association, I know, is always big.
yeah, well, there's a lot of them. And so I haven't decided yet. I'll put it that way.
All right, well.
Go enjoy my grandkids for a little bit before I make that decision.
Before they're all
that, and I feel like God will he's blessed me this long, he'll continue to bless me with an answer.
Wow. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up the show?
No, but I won't. It would be remiss of me if I didn't tell you how much I've enjoyed working with you and your crew. You all have kept it balanced. You work 24/7, and I don't think a lot of people realize that you are answering emails and Facebook comments and Nextdoor comments and all of those good things 24/7 usually. So I thank you for that hard work, because you become the commissioner's voices because of these relationships and that teamwork. Well, please don't cry. I'm not good at crying. I can't do it.
Turning into Zadowski now.
There you go.
Mike, edit that out.
No, but it's been a pleasure, and I'm not going far.
I know. Well,
you know that.
I've really appreciated it. I've worked for a bunch of commissioners, but you've always been straight shooter, and you know, when you
even when you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. You know, I've been told I'm too direct, but that's how you get effective communications across.
Yes, it is.
So
well,
thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Well, thanks again, Commissioner, for your years of service and your friendship and leadership here.
It's been a joy, and this feeling is mutual.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Inside St. Lucie, and we hope you'll tune in again next month. If you have topics or subjects you'd like to see covered on the program relating to St. Lucie County government, give us a call at 772-462-1791 or send an email to pio@stlucieco.org. And if you'd like to see previously aired episodes of this or other SLC TV programs, visit our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StLucieGov. I'm your host, Eric Gill, for myself and the staff. Thanks for watching.